All right, let's continue to give you an update now on our breaking news story. 2 soldiers were killed and 3 more wounded at a South African National Defence Force camp in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The SA troops are part of the Southern African Development Community SADC mission in the DRC, deployed to support and to assist the government in its efforts to bring peace, security and stability in the region. For more on the story now, let's bring in SABC News correspondent Chris Ocamringa. Chris, thank you so much for your time. You obviously on the ground, and we know very little in terms of what has transpired in this latest incident. But talk to us about the situation currently in the DRC following the killing of the 2 SANDF soldiers and what you know so far.
So there has been a lot of fighting between the M23 rebels and the Congolese government, who are backed by troops from the Southern African Development Community, that's South Africa, Malawi and Tanzania. These fighting has been, it stepped up, it intensified since the start of this year. And the M23 rebels issued a statement a few weeks ago accusing troops from the Southern African Development Community of firing heavy artillery at places that are occupied by civilians, and they said that they are going to retaliate and take the fight to the source where that fighting has happened. They mentioned troops from Tanzania as some of those who are using these heavy artillery, and said that they will attack them. And this is the first, the killing of the South African troops is the first casualties that they have recorded since they deployed here in December last year. And we have been told that 3 of the injured soldiers are at a hospital in the eastern city of Goma receiving treatment. But the fighting has been going on. Congolese forces with the pro-government militia known as Wazalendo are working together with the troops from the Southern African Development Community to ensure that the town of Sake, which is about 23 kilometers from the eastern city of Goma, does not fall into the rebel hands. The rebels have said that they are determined to capture that area. They are holding very many towns, more than 10 towns in North Kivu province, and they are saying they will continue fighting until the government of the DRC decides to hold a dialogue with them.
Now, of course, we know that the UN organization stabilizing mission in the DRC has been withdrawing, from the DRC since December last year, after the East African Community Regional Force also left the country at the behest of, that government. Just talk to us about where the contentious areas are, and significantly, has there been any comments from the DRC itself with regards to this latest incident?
Well, so the UN peacekeepers are supposed to leave the DRC by the end of 2024, the end of this year, under an agreement that they signed with the Congolese government. And this is because the DRC government has been accusing the UN peacekeepers of failing to stop this attack against, attack against civilians by the M23 and numerous other rebel groups in the east of the country, despite being here for more than 20 years and, being in possession of all these sophisticated weapons. They accuse the international community of taking a very soft stance against the M23 rebels, who they say are being backed by Rwanda, although Rwanda has repeatedly denied this allegation. And so they are leaving at a time when there is increased violence, not just in North Kivu province, but in Ituri province as well, where there's a lot of gold, and rebel groups like Codeco, Zaire, that are fighting over the control of some of these mineral sites and, killing different rival groups who are accused of, inhabiting their land. And so the DRC government decided to call on South African troops, Malawi and Tanzania under the Southern African Development Community, because they also asked troops from the East African Community who were deployed in the east of the DRC last year to leave, because these troops were more like a peacekeeping mission. They were not given the mandate. They said they were not given the mandate to fight against the rebels. Theirs was only to oversee the withdrawal of the rebels from the occupied areas. That angered very many Congolese citizens who had said they already had a force of UN peacekeepers that were not fighting, that were not able to stop the rebels from capturing more territories. And that's why the government ordered the East African Community troops to leave the country. Many people in the DRC are happy that troops from South Africa, Malawi and Tanzania are fighting alongside their army to repulse the M23 rebels, who have a lot of sophisticated weapons and have captured many territories in the east of the DRC.
Now, many, of course, are questioning, if the SADC mission will make any significant impact, asking the question, what will it take, for the fighting between the DRC armed forces and the M23 rebel groups, to come to an end. I mean, you've been speaking, of course, to officials. What are they telling you?
Well, so from what we have gathered is the two sides are determined to resolve this dispute militarily, despite a lot of calls by the international community and regional leaders for them to find a peaceful solution through dialogue. The DRC president has repeatedly said he's not interested in talking to the M23 rebels because he believes that this is a proxy of neighboring Rwanda that is hell-bent on plundering their mineral resources. They have said, they have accused Rwanda of using the excuse of having a militia group known as FDLR. This is a militia group of ethnic Hutus who are blamed of carrying out the genocide in Rwanda in 1994. They are in the east of the DRC, and the Rwandan government has been saying that this is a security threat to their country, and that is why they say they have been backing the M23 rebels, which is a group of ethnic Tutsis, to plunder and continue destabilizing the east of the DRC. And so the M23 rebels also issued a statement saying that they are no longer interested in having any talks with the government. They're going to form their own government in that area, put an administration in all those areas they have captured, more than 10. Some of them are very strategic areas where trucks from neighboring countries have been entering the DRC. So the two sides have totally refused to come to the negotiating table to resolve this conflict. According to what we have read, what we have seen so far, the M23 rebels were calling for dialogue and demanding a certain percentage, about 40% of top military positions for their troops in North and South Kivu. That is something that the government outrightly rejected. They said they will not happen. And because the DRC government has had a history of these conflicts right from 1996 after the genocide in Rwanda, and it's the ethnic Tutsis who are Congolese citizens who are part of the people living in Eastern Congo have been at the forefront of these conflicts. They started, with a rebel movement called RCD, which later was renamed to CNDP, and then it morphed into M23. So the Congolese people are sick and tired of having these conflicts. They want to resolve this once and for all.
All right, Chris, thank you so much for that comprehensive update. Chris Ocamringa, the SABC News correspondent, just giving us the very latest in terms of what is happening on the ground in the DRC in light of this breaking news story where two South African National Defence Force soldiers and 3 have died and 3 others injured. We'll keep monitoring this story for you to keep getting just those updates that are crucially needed at this point in time.